Greetings! Welcome to the second part of revision recordings. This is for Unit 1 AQA Business Studies, and the topic is marketing, and this is marketing for small businesses. So when you're setting up your business or you've got a small business that you're running, what should you be doing? Well, one thing you definitely need to do is use market research. The reasons for conducting market research are to try and find out what demand's going to be like. Does anybody actually want this product? Does anybody want this service that I'm going to offer? And also to allow you to get the right amount of goods and services. You need to know what the customer's needs are. Is anybody actually looking for a wholemeal bun when they go to McDonald's, for example? So don't waste your money on producing it if it's not going to sell. You need to understand the market, especially if you're about to set up. Are there enough people out there buying these things to make it worthwhile running a business, to set the business up? You also need to find out about the competitors. Where are the competitors? What are they selling and how much are they actually charging? So the methods of market research, there's a couple of things you can do, and they're called, the difference between them is primary research and secondary research. And quite a few people get confused between these, so I'll try and explain them to you. Primary research is new research that you conduct yourself. So you actually physically go and ask the questions. You set up the survey. Even if you do an online survey, that's fine. You've written the questions and you're sending it out to the people to respond to it. Secondary research is where you're looking at research that other people have already done. So you might be looking online, but you're looking at data that maybe has been gathered by the government, for example, for the census. Or you might be researching in a newspaper or a magazine and reading an article about the market that you're thinking of going into. So primary is called field research, where you might go out into the field and collect the data yourself. Secondary research is desk research, where you sit at a desk and you look at research that other people have already collected. Now, the different methods of research have their own advantages and disadvantages. If you're researching online, it's a good place to start, really, isn't it? Sit down, put a search into Google. What comes up? It's free, gives you a quick overview, and it's a good place to start. However, if you're looking at competitors' websites, for example, they might be biased. They might tell you things are going a certain way, where actually they're just trying to keep jolly and things are actually not doing too well at all. And the information is unlikely to be exactly what you're looking for. So good as an overview, but not exactly what you need on the internet. Now, if you conducted questionnaires or rang people up to talk to them, potential customers or customers that you've already got, if you've already got an established business, it's very good because you can ask exactly what you want to know. You can get quick information from lots of people who are the people you're going to be targeting or you are targeting. And if the person doesn't understand the question, you can explain to them, this is what I mean. I'm trying to find out this from you. However, when you try and stop people in the street and say, do you want to answer a few questions? Or when you ring somebody and say, can I ask you a few questions? They might tell you where to go. So it might be difficult to get people to answer your questions there. The results can be biased. You think about it. Are we trying to, if we're responding to questions, sometimes we think, oh, what are they trying to find out? What will make them happy? So people answering the questions might not be very honest in their replies, and it can be expensive. If you've got to pay somebody to go out and interview 1,000 customers, for example, which would probably be a bit excessive, that's going to be expensive. So it will take time and money to carry out primary research like that. One way to get information is to talk to suppliers. What's going on in the market? What's popular in the market at the moment? And they'll tell you because it's in their interest to make sure you sell more as well, because that boosts their business. So it can build a relationship with the suppliers as well. However, the suppliers might have too much of one item left. So they might say to you, this item's selling really well, just to shift it onto you, so you buy it from them, and then you can't shift it because nobody wants it. So it could be biased if you get information from suppliers. Customer feedback is very useful. It'll give a real insight into what customers think and how you can improve and what they want. But the only trouble with that is if you're trying to increase your market share and increase your customer base, if you're only talking to your customers, people who are already your customers, you're not finding out why the other people aren't your customers yet, are you? And what they want. Then focus groups. Focus groups are where you get a group of people together, preferably your target customers or people who might already be your customers. You sit them down in a room and you chat to them. You get in-depth information about their attitudes and about why they buy the products they buy. However, it can be very expensive and it's very small samples, small groups, so it could give you information that actually isn't representative of a lot of what your customers would say. So those are some of the basic research methods and what might be good and bad about using those. In an exam, you might have to suggest a research method for an entrepreneur and say why it would be suitable for them. So it's worth knowing those advantages and disadvantages. Now, the marketing mix is otherwise known as the 4 Ps. Product, price, promotion, place. And if you can try and learn those off by heart, then it does pop up in exams fairly regularly. The marketing mix is really important to get the balance right. If you've got a fantastic product, but you're selling it at the wrong price and not in the right location, you're not going to have a successful business. If you have got a beautiful location, but you're not selling the right products there, again, you're not going to have a good business. So it's about getting those 4 things properly balanced. So, how do you do this? How do you choose a product in the first place? Well, it might be that you've spotted a gap in the market using market mapping. We talked about that in the first section of this revision resource. It might be that you're good at something or you're trained at something. An accountant might choose to set up their own accountancy business because that's what they do. It might be that you've got a real interest in vintage china, so you set up a business selling vintage china. Why you can adapt your products as you go along. So why might you choose to adapt your products or to increase your range of products? It might be you've got some good customers, but actually they want you to do a few more things. They'll come back to you for more different types of things. So you want to increase sales, which is always important, and get customers to spend more with you. If you have quiet times within the business, you could offer a different type of product or service in those quiet times. For example, a fruit and veg shop might do home deliveries. A barber shop sells men's hair products as well as cutting hair. And it's about thinking about what else can I offer to my customers that means they're going to spend more of their money with me, because that, of course, is what business is all about. Now, thinking about your price, if it's too high, the customers aren't going to buy from you, are they? They're going to look elsewhere. And if it's too low, you're not going to cover your costs. Either way, you haven't got a business, because obviously a business is about covering your costs and making a profit. So 3 things to consider really when you're setting a price for a small business. First thing is, how much did it cost to make the product if you're making it yourself? How much did it cost to buy that product? And then you need to add a percentage on to make your profit. So that's a cost-based pricing strategy. Another way to look at it, and probably used in conjunction with cost-based, is to look at what the competitors are charging. How much is everyone else charging for these products? Because if I charge too much, people will go elsewhere. And how much will customers actually pay? It's all very well looking at those things, but if the customers won't pay the price, if they say it's too expensive, then they're not going to buy from you. So 3 things to consider. Cost, how much does it cost me to make or buy the product? What are the competitors charging? And will the customers actually pay that price? Now, moving on to the 3rd P, from product, price, promotion. Now, you always have to think in this unit it's about a small business. So recommending a large TV advertising campaign for a small business is not going to get you any marks in an exam. A small business is going to have a limited budget, so small business owners have to be clever about what they actually do to promote their business. And promotion is any way of communicating with your customers to put your business out there, to get them to come to you. There are other ways apart from the local newspaper and leaflets, which is what we see time and time again from GCSE students. So you could advertise in the local press, or you could advertise in the trade press. For example, if you're selling riding products, you might advertise in riding newspapers and magazines to target those particular customers. The size of your advert could be big or small depending on how much money you've got, and you can reach the audience you're looking for, whether it's a local audience or whether it's a specific audience to your product. The disadvantages are it can be expensive. Just to take out a quarter page advert in a local glossy magazine could be a few £100. Add on your graphic designer and you're talking £500-600 straight away. And advertising is very hard to make it stand out. How many of us read a newspaper or magazine and just flick past the adverts unless they really are eye-catching? So that could be a complete waste of a small business owner's money. Another method of promotion that I always like to recommend is advertising in the local press. Is public relations, which is otherwise called PR. This is where you send out to local newspapers, magazines, etc., etc., or not even local. It could be any national, and you say we've got this exciting new product, and you tell them about it, or we've got a new member of staff and they've come from a top London hairdressing salon, or whatever you've got. What's your news? And quite often things get picked up because the press are always looking for stories, and they've got their business pages and they might well put things on there. If you're sponsoring a local sporting event, for example, you could send out information about that. It's cheap to do because you've just got to write an article, a press article, and more people read what's actually written as editorial in magazines and newspapers than they look at the adverts. So they think that the newspaper or magazine has written it themselves, whereas actually you've sent it to the newspaper or magazine. The only disadvantage is if the press decide to change what's written there, you don't control the content, so they could write what they wanted to about you, really. And they don't always get picked up. You have to send a lot of press releases out and hope that they'll get picked up and that somebody will cover your story. However, if you're doing something good and you're sponsoring a local team or something like that, the chances are you will get some kind of coverage. Now, another cheap form of promotion, but very, very important, is customer recommendation. It's really important for a small business. It's very powerful. We believe our friends, we believe our family. If they say to us, you should go there, it's a really good business, or they'll do you a really good job, we trust our friends and family. So you could try and encourage this by running a promotion where a customer gets a £5 voucher when they recommend a friend, for example. The only thing is it is hard to control. So to actually get somebody to go and tell another person about your business is quite hard to do, but it is a very powerful form of promotion. Another form of promotion is direct mail, where you send out leaflets or emails to target customers. It's very cheap, or pretty cheap to do, especially emails. People might not read them. You know, we get lots of emails a day, lots of businesses send us stuff. We tend to just delete them unless there's a very exciting offer on there. And obviously leaflets that come through the door may not get read. It depends on your target market, of course. Who are you trying to target with that? And you have to be careful with things like emails, because the people have to have given their consent for you to email them in the first place and to use their data. Personal selling, like door-to-door salesmen or saleswomen, they could go knock on doors and try and sell to people. You can change what you're saying depending on the customer, so that's a good reason, but that can be expensive. And also, if you're knocking on someone's door in the middle of their tea, then they can be very annoyed with you and think badly of your company. Online promotion is obviously massive now. Don't just say in an exam, promote online. You need to be specific. So should they be targeting through Google Ads? Should they be using their own website, which they then promote on Google to get people to go to it? Should they be promoting on social media through Facebook or Twitter? Be specific about what you mean. And most of these can be set up fairly cheaply. And it's a good way to reach a lot of people. If you can set up a good viral campaign, something funny that people are going to share, you've got a lot of coverage very quickly. But it can actually be quite hard to think of those fun viral things. It's time consuming to keep Facebook, Twitter and websites up to date, and you've got to have the expertise to do that. Also, it's all very well setting up a website, but if your customers don't know it's there, you've spent a lot of time and money, you've still got to promote that website and let them know to find it, where to find it. The beauty of targeting customers through things like Facebook and Twitter is they let you choose. So you could choose your market that you want to target as 20-year-old males to 35-year-old males who have an interest in hockey and like to go windsurfing at the weekend. You can be very, very specific with hobbies and that kind of thing. And it's relatively cheap because you know you're reaching a specific target. And I think I've already said it can be time consuming. And if you don't know how to do it, you need to employ an expert. So obviously that's expensive. Now, our last one of the 4 Ps, the marketing mix, product, price, promotion, place, is where do we actually sell our goods and how do they get to the customer? Are they coming direct from the manufacturer to the customer via a website, or are they going through a wholesaler, through a retailer and then to the consumer? How are they actually getting to the customer? And a wholesaler is somebody that buys large quantities from lots of manufacturers, and they put a big warehouse with stuff piled high, and the retailers come in and buy in smaller quantities for their shops. If you've heard of Costco or any of the cash and carries like Makro, that's what they do. An agent might represent a producer in a different country and sell the products to retailers on behalf of that producer. But if you're the manufacturer of the goods, you're going to make the most profit by selling directly to the consumer. So obviously that would be by selling online, which allows you to reach a global market. However, we know it can be expensive and you need to get people onto your website. And that is the topic of marketing for small businesses.